Welcome back everyone to another video. Today we have a movie review for you guys, 65. There's not too much to talk about here, but there are some things I definitely want to touch on. It was an okay movie, but right before we get into this, if you guys are new here, consider hitting that subscribe button, letting me know that you guys like the content that I am putting out for you guys. And yeah, let's get into the review. So kind of just going right for the money here, the main plot itself is good enough. It is basically just a let's get from point A to point B, let's get back home kind of story, which is kind of what you expect from a movie like this. It kind of starts off with Adam Driver and the little girl. He actually crash lands from one of the meteors, and then pretty much right from the start, all of the passengers die. And I think, yeah, the little girl is pretty much like part of that whole group, and he finds her. However, she does not speak his language. She speaks a different, other language, and that makes it there's kind of like a language barrier there. But kind of going back to the main plot, they set it up where he's from another planet. I know they said it in the movie, I can't think of it right now. But he has a daughter there who has some kind of sickness or disease, and I guess, from what I gathered, he has like part of the space program or something, where he can kind of work for them to get money to pay for her treatments. But unfortunately, the movie kind of starts off with him talking about how he's going to be leaving for 2 years, and he gets video messages from her back and forth, but then ultimately she does end up dying while he's gone. So that kind of causes like a emotional build-up throughout the movie, and you kind of get to learn more about that. Going as far as like the setup, I was just kind of talking about it, but they kind of have him crash landing with all the dinosaurs. He obviously doesn't know what Earth is, and this is an Earth that we don't even really know too much about, being 65 million years ago with the dinosaurs. He immediately kind of just, trying to see what he can find, and then not too long after, he has like this device, and he uses it constantly throughout the movie, where he can kind of like track different things and just pretty much do whatever the plot needs him to do on this device. And he ends up seeing one of his ships that's in the mountains, and that's kind of where they try to get to for the rest of the movie. And that's really the main setup of the movie. One thing I do really want to talk about with this movie that kind of impressed me actually a little bit was the audio, sound design, and just soundtrack in general. That's something I really noticed that this movie did well. Not only just with that, but like there was a certain part in the movie with like a lot of jump scares. I remember the one moment where he's looking over a cliff, and he's looking at the dinosaurs walking below, and one's coming through the tree line, and right when you're about to see it, a raptor comes up, and it actually, it quite got me. I'm not, usually one to fall for jump scares or anything like that, but that one definitely got me. I think, again, that the audio design team did really well with like the different tech guns and like the little booting up of everything, and just the way that they did all of that sounded pretty good. I think that they also did a really good job with like the nature part of the sound design and the soundtrack as well. Kind of going on with that, the CGI team did really well with the meteors and like just the colors when all the meteors were coming down. I did enjoy that with the little girl that survived. So like I was saying, there is like kind of this language barrier between the two, and you see that throughout the entire movie, but they kind of come up with these like keywords, if that makes sense, that like to kind of understand each other. There's a lot of like body movement, like body language talk in this movie, if you know what I mean by that. Like where if she's like afraid, like he'll see that, or if like she wants to do something, like they just kind of have that really good chemistry, like movement. I wouldn't say that the two actors themselves have like amazing chemistry, but like it works well enough for me. But they kind of like developed this as like, I think he's like, stay, move, you know, these little basic hand movements that teach her, like, just so they can kind of be on the same page. And one of the things that he actually ends up going into that is the idea that her family is still alive, and that's kind of like the motivation that he gives her to like go with him. But really kind of got me was that she never like really, they never really talk about the fact that like he kind of lied to her. She just kind of finds out that her family's not there, and she kind of, maybe they never really like say if she like thought that he was lying, or if he didn't know, like if she thought that he didn't know for sure. It would have been cool to see if like she, you know, had that like resentment towards him when she found out that her family was not alive. Going into a different side of the movie with the actual fights that did happen, there was a whole like second act where they get stuck in this cave, and the girl kind of has to fight for herself, and so does he. And she ends up kind of like going into this log and like trapping one of the raptors in there, and then like blowing it up with these bombs that he'd given her. And I thought that was a pretty cool moment, especially for her, because she wasn't really doing much throughout the whole movie, just kind of being silly. A really cool just shot in general was right before that had all happened. They were in this cave, and they had like these, I don't know if they were like, I don't want to call them baby monitors, but they were like, it's like a camp, and they set like one at each corner, and then they'd go to sleep, but it would tell them if anyone was nearby. And then you had this really cool shot, and I'm pretty sure it was in the trailer, of the dinosaur behind the waterfall, which I just thought was really cool. And then of course you have the final fight with there was like 3 different T-Rexes, and you kind of goes back to something that happened earlier in the movie with the hot springs. There's not too much to talk about this movie. It's just one of those movies where you go in, you watch and enjoy it, and there's not too much to talk about. There's not really too much to go in depth with here. It's just a fun action suspense sci-fi movie about a guy from another planet shooting dinosaurs, and that's really much all there is to it. Again, I enjoyed it enough. I'll leave my Letterboxd ranking somewhere here of it, and so just, you know, go see this movie for yourself. I know it's been getting a lot of bad ratings, but I definitely would say it's not quite as bad as everyone's saying it is. It's, you know, it's nothing fantastic or groundbreaking, but I think it's definitely worth watching. So let me know what you guys think of it, and until then, guys, peace everyone.